welcome to another edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me as always is new Michael, Kevin Jank.
I'm here, and thankfully this week's comics features very little Matthew Broderick.
Yes. Tell the kids what we're reading this week, Jank.
We're going to be reading Godzilla, a.k.a. Godzilla King of the Monsters, number 23 from 1979.
Yes, this is one issue before the series ended.
Yeah, the penultimate issue.
It
really built up towards the exciting climax.
Of course, everyone knows Godzilla, the old radioactive monster who terrorized Japan for many, many years.
Boy, did he. And then he saved it a bunch of times. Like, if anything becomes popular enough, they have to turn him face and, make him a hero. So he protected Japan from the worst monsters, basically.
That's right. All right, before we get into this Godzilla issue, let's remind everybody, if you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I think we're up to 147 subscribers. So, moving on up. Up.
Turns out most of those people did not want to watch the Avengers video last week.
Yeah, we had a 2-week bump of like a lot of people watching, and then this past week we're back to normal. So, I don't know what happened, but must be a lot of Dr. Druid hate. That's all I can base it on.
Yep. They do not like that hairstyle.
Once again, proves my theory. People hate Dr. Druid. All right, but this here issue, Godzilla. Now, the first Godzilla movie was called Gojira, and then a North American version was released in 1956 under the name Godzilla, King of the Monsters, which is what this here comic book is titled. Mm-hmm. And all told, there have been 33 Japanese Godzilla films.
Ooh, that includes Godzilla -1 that just came out?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't know there was a Godzilla -1. What?
Oh, yeah. It's doing really well. Like, it was even in American theaters, and like people who have seen it, I've seen videos online of people who were like, "This is one of my favorite movies of the year." So I'm
really, I had no idea. I'll have to look into this.
Yeah.
Well, what does the -1 refer to? Like
it basically, I think it's a prequel to all the other ones. Essentially, they're going back to the beginning. So it's like right after World War II, and dealing with the aftermath of the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and also, here just happens to be Godzilla. So it seems like it's a very serious movie, but they just, kind of stuck Godzilla in there. And it seems like it's working for people.
I thought he was invited to a party, but he couldn't bring anyone. Or he had to bring one less person. Either way.
+1. He had a -1.
So, there have been 5 American films, and you mentioned the Matthew Broderick there at the beginning, because he was in one of the big... when was that? That was like in the 90s, right?
It was like 98, yeah. I remember my mom took us to see that in the theater. I talked her into it and immediately regretted it once we got out of it.
Yeah. Was that one of the ones where he barely saw Godzilla, or was it?
Yeah, I mean, they do show enough of him at a certain point. They definitely build it up, which is nice. I mean, it's always appreciated when they give you the slow, build to getting to see him. And you do get to see him. He looks kind of different in there, and I don't know. The whole third act just it's a lot more people and jokey nonsense than it should have been. And then there's like a whole thing with the eggs at the end. It kind of feels like Jurassic Park more than like a Godzilla movie at a certain point.
I think the only thing I can remember from it was I don't think I ever saw the whole thing, but I saw clips. And wasn't there a section where they made a reference to like 2 scientists or somebody being called Cisco and Ebert? And
I think they were like the mayor and like the...
Oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But I remember when that came out, because I was a big Cisco and Ebert guy. I remember that, but that's about it. So who was a big... who was a big fan of the Godzilla? Stan Lee. That's right.
Mm.
So he struck a deal with Toho, the entertainment company that produced the Godzilla films, but he only licensed the rights to Godzilla, none of the other monsters. So.
Shrewd businessman.
Mothra was probably the big one, right? Who is he?
Mothra or like Ghidorah, maybe.
Yeah. Stan Lee said, "We just want Godzilla," and the comic series ran for 24 issues from 1977 and 1979. The first issue sold 200,000 copies.
Holy hell!
That sounds pretty good there for 1979. Oh. But when it came time to renew the licensing agreement, Toho raised the cost, so Marvel said, "No thanks."
Yep.
2 years.
That makes sense.
But the
This
success
explains why now here at the end of the series they're like, well, our time's running out. Let's have them fight all of the Marvel superheroes. Well, we're going to space this out a little more, but now we're running out of time, so just throw them all in there.
Yeah, the Avengers appear in this comic, and the Fantastic Four.
That's Fantastic Four. Spider-Man shows up next issue, I think.
Yeah, next issue. We get Jonah Jameson and Robbie Robertson in this one, though.
Yeah.
The success of the Godzilla series convinced Mattel to license their Shogun Warrior toy line to Marvel. You remember the Shogun Warriors?
I do a little bit. I saw that there was an advertisement for that comic either in this one or the next issue, so yeah.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I had a couple Shogun Warriors. They were like really big robots. Like, I don't know, they're like 2 feet tall. And they would shoot missiles and their fists and stuff, so yeah, a lot of choking hazards with the, that would never fly today. But back in the day, it was awesome. And I was, the Shogun Warriors ran for 20 issues from 79 through 80. And I wanted to, do them next week, maybe as a tie-in. But then I saw Herb Trimpe was the artist again. I'm like, all right, no, I can't do it.
No, it's too much Trimpe. Yeah.
Too much Trimpe. Yeah, the creative team here is Doug Moench and, Herb Trimpe. And we've talked about them both numerous times on the show. But
we don't even have to do the biography section of this show.
Yeah.
Everybody so many times.
In fact, let's just take care of it right now. Doug Moench wrote all 24 issues of this series. And he was not, I guess, a Godzilla fan. Stan Lee took him and Trimpe to see a Godzilla movie. And apparently Doug Moench wasn't all that impressed. But he's like, all right, I'll do it. But anyway, he wrote all 24 issues. Herb Trimpe drew 22 of the 24 issues. He missed issues 4 and 5, which were drawn by Tom Sutton. So.
Did Godzilla look more like Godzilla in those issues?
I don't know.
It's just a Trimpe issue.
Yes, Godzilla looks nothing like Godzilla.
He kind of looks like Devil Dinosaur, just green, like they didn't change much. I don't know.
Well, you mentioned how this issue they fight all the Marvel heroes. Throughout the series, they interacted with heroes at different times. Like Devil Dinosaur was one of the guest spots.
Yeah, they traveled back in time, I think, thanks to Dr. Doom's time machine. Yeah.
And I think they included him as a tribute to Jack Kirby because they were Kirby fans. I think the Champions also had an issue. There were a couple other people. But Stan Lee
makes
didn't...
sense. Okay. Godzilla, you can't really, like, he's not much of a character. He's just a giant lizard who doesn't talk and just smashes things pretty much. Like, there's not a lot there, so you got to throw in a lot of characters around him to kind of liven the book up.
But here's the problem, though. Stan Lee didn't want to have his normal heroes always interacting with Godzilla and fighting him because he thought it would make them look weak because, Godzilla's got to come out on top, So
he's the king of monsters, damn it.
Yeah, so what they did is like, all right, we'll come up with a team that can always take the pin. You know what I'm saying? In terms of wrestling. You needed a few jobbers in there to lose. So
here comes Dum Dum Dugan.
That's right. They created Godzilla Squad. That's right. When Godzilla showed up off the coast of Alaska and started causing trouble, S.H.I.E.L.D. was called in to stop him. So Nick Fury assembled a special unit to handle the job. The team consisted of Dum Dum Dugan, or is it Duggan? How do you pronounce it? Duggan?
I don't know. I've always gone back and forth.
I swear I've heard it both ways.
Yeah.
We have Dum Dum Dugan. Sergeant Fury issue 1, 1963 was his first appearance. Then also on the team was Gabe Jones. He also premiered in that Sergeant Fury. And also Jimmy Woo. Now,
yeah, sure.
You know who Jimmy Woo is? Because I did not. And when I looked him up, I was very impressed. Do you know who he is?
Yeah, he's like kind of the leader of that Agents of Atlas group. That has like a talking gorilla guy on it and stuff. I think he's been in the MCU. He was in like Ant-Man 2, I think. And then possibly maybe even in WandaVision. Like he's been around.
I had no idea. But he actually dates back to 1956. His first appearance was in Yellow Claw issue 1 for Atlas Comics.
Oh.
And then I guess they brought him into Nick Fury and stuff over the years, and he's basically just a spy and stuff, like an espionage kind of guy. But never heard of him. Also in this issue, as part of the Gorilla Squad, we get Hugh Howards. Not to be confused with Howard Hughes, even though he looks exactly like him. his first appearance was Godzilla issue 6, 1977. And he was brought in to pilot their new, they have a new helicarrier. I forget what they call it.
Yeah, this is a strange looking helicarrier. It's a lot
it's
more
a shoebox. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a flying shoebox. That's basically what it is. But he's the pilot. They also brought in some scientists and experts in Godzilla, including Dr. Yuriko Takaguchi, Dr. Tamara Hashika, and Dr. Gladstone Hawkins. And then there's also Robert Takaguchi, who is the grandson of Dr. Yuriko Takaguchi.
Yep.
And
He's
Robert plays a pivotal role.
Yeah.
I guess that was a theme in the old Godzilla movies from Japan. Like there would often be a child or something who Godzilla befriends. And
sounds all right. Yeah. I remember on Pee-wee's Playhouse back in the day, they would somehow just like sometimes cut to random clips of things. And I remember them cutting to one with a giant turtle. It was like a Godzilla movie. And there's just like kids singing stuff while this turtle would like swing around on a pole. Like, what the hell is this?
I don't remember that. But, so there you go. That's the Godzilla Squad. And they're just there to fight, Godzilla and get beat up and keep trying to stop him. So
now, while we're on the subject of Dum Dum Dugan, I know you were listening to those Marvel audiobooks and you listened to the original Sin one at some point, right?
Ooh, yeah, that's I did. Although I don't remember him being in there. There was a big
revelation about. Yeah, maybe they didn't put him there. Yeah, he's a life Milo decoy. Yeah. Turns out he has been ever since World War II. Like he died back then, and Nick Fury just kind of, told him, "Oh yeah, I gave you the same formula that's keeping me alive." But no, he did not. He's just a robot.
We talked about it on the show before. I believe when we did the Sergeant Fury Howling Commandos with Mike L and Miles Watson, we probably got into that. I think that's when we did it. But yeah, he was a robot all these years. Yeah. No one had any idea. Because they had to explain how he could still be here, all these years later. So it's
amazing that you're hunting Godzilla and you never like cut yourself or anything, like get any kind of an injury that leaks oil.
I cut myself like 4 times and I shave every day. It's like I can't do it. So yeah, this Dum Dum Dugan, steadiest hand in the West. He never cuts himself. Yeah. So, but anyway, also this Godzilla Squad. They all wear hats. Did you notice that? They all have hats. Dum Dum's got his bowler. Hugh Howard's or whatever has a hat.
Yeah.
They all have hats.
It's like an Indiana Jones type hat.
Interesting look. All right. Well, I guess that's all the background we have here on the Godzilla. Would you like to describe the cover for us, Jack?
Okay. So we got the Marvel Comics group across the top there, the corner box in the normal spot with a good shot of Godzilla. Shooting his flame breath out, full body shot. That's cool. Still doesn't look like Godzilla there either, but whatever. That's fine.
Yeah, what is it that doesn't look like Godzilla? It's like the head's off or something, right?
The head is definitely off. Like the head is it's shorter, like kind of like how the lizard used to be, not like how the lizard became, especially like during the McFarlane era where he looked more, lizard had a big jaw. Like Godzilla's face is kind of more smushed. And he's also like very dark green to the point where it's like almost black almost. This face just does not scream Godzilla to me.
Yeah, there's something wrong with the head. There's something wrong with it. It just doesn't look right. But anyway.
That's not quite it, but so we got the Godzilla King of the Monsters logo. That's pretty cool. Big white background. And then you see Godzilla in New York City just blasting his flame breath at like some jets that are shooting at him. He's got one in his hand. It looks very much like you're playing the game Rampage for Nintendo.
Oh, it was a great game, man.
Grabbing jets and smashing them. And then we got...
You could yank those ladies right out of the window.
Yeah. Right out of the bathtub and just throw them in your mouth. So we got the Avengers down in the bottom. We kind of see Thor looking in shock. Iron Man's kind of cowering like a little pansy, I guess. I don't know. He's very afraid of Godzilla. Vision saying, "Stay back, Avengers. Only Yellow Jacket and the Wasp can stop Godzilla." And Yellow Jacket and the Wasp aren't even looking that way, so I think they're probably planning to book it.
I like Wasp. She looks good there. Another new costume for Wasp. She has a new costume every time I see Wasp.
That's always
something different.
And most of them are terrible.
And this is drawn, of course, by Trimpe. And, yeah, so, it's a fine cover, I guess.
That's pretty good. Gives you a hint of what's coming. The Avengers fighting Godzilla. That's cool.
That's all you need there. All right, then we open it up, and The King Once More is the title of this one. And I also wanted to mention
was shrunken down and then sent back in time, and then the Fantastic Four managed to get him back to full size. But unfortunately, they did this right in the middle of New York City, which is not a good idea.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to mention, because I believe last week you said something about there was a time when he shrunk down, and that was because he got exposed to PIM particles, like they always. And I guess they also did it creative-wise, because they wanted to have Godzilla actually fight Dum Dum Dugan. Like, they wanted to have him punch fight. I think so. So that would have been pretty great if we could see that. But
yeah, we should have done that.
I want Godzilla to just smack him in the mouth and take his hat. That was
I want him to pull on his mustache.
Yeah, like this splash page here, you couldn't draw something less like Godzilla than he looks here.
Yeah. This looks more like the Big Lizard in My Backyard cover of the Dead Milkman album. That's about it.
Wow, no one's going to know that reference. No one. But it just looks like a snake with arms.
Yeah,
it's not very good. It's not very good at all.
Sure looks angry.
Yeah, you probably saw how Trimpe's drawing him. So what the hell is this?
I think Mr. Fantastic mentioned something about all this time traveling and size changing has messed up his mind. So he doesn't know what he's doing.
Even the spines along his back are different. Like in the movie, aren't they bigger? Like I'm talking the old Japanese movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the guy in the suit. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so that's the point here that he just popped back into New York, and they think he's going crazy because of all the stuff he's gone through recently, right? Like the back in time and everything.
Traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah. He's flipping out. So it's just Reed Richards and Human Torture trying to stop him from tearing up the city. And this Reed Richards
destroy that billboard for Jaws 2.
Yeah, Jaws 2. But this Reed Richards, he's just stretching all over the place in this book.
Yeah.
He's we never see his legs, just his upper body stretching somewhere. His head.
I do like that he's got unlimited space. You'd think he'd run out of molecules at some point. There's only so much body. Where is it all coming from?
And we see Dum Dum Dugan and the Godzilla Squad there in the big helicarrier, the floating shoebox. And Godzilla takes a swipe at him. And they're like, oh man, this Godzilla, he's out of control.
Yeah, but Reed Richards, he stretches up there and he's like, he seems to be after your helicarrier, your shoebox there. So why don't you fly towards the water and kind of lure him over there?
But I like how there's a panel of Reed Richards stretching up towards the helicarrier, and he's still very far away. But he just yells, Dugan, it's me, Reed Richards. Listen to me. Oh, wait. You are Reed Richards. I thought it was another stretchy guy. I thought it was someone else. All right. It's Reed Richards, Jimmy. That's who it is. And then he just stretches right inside the helicarrier.
He sure does.
Inside a window.
I like that they drew him, the rest of his body outside. You could see his torso on the outside windows. It's an interesting
Skip
one.
the sarcasm, Dugan, and listen to what I have to say. The slingshot effect of the time machine has evidently disoriented Godzilla. You mean it not only brought him back to our time, but it also scrambled his brain? Something like that, yes.
Yep. So he's like, lead him out towards the water, but, go down the streets. Don't just fly over the buildings or he'll follow you right through the building.
Yeah, you gotta leave.
Make sure you take, sharp right turns at all the corners.
Yeah. And don't worry about all the cars and people on the streets. We'll worry about, just focus on keeping them on the streets.
Well, Mr. Fantastic does, do something about that. He gets that cop after it. He's like, hey, go, clear out the streets. But, I mean, it's probably going to be too late because you can't really mobilize that quickly, but I don't know. What are you going to do? Godzilla's there. He's going to mess things up. You got to at least contain the damage as much as you can, I guess.
And this cop wants to play hero. He jumps out of his car with his gun there, and he starts shooting Godzilla. Godzilla's like, what? What are you doing?
Like in his thunder thighs. Like, that's really going to hurt him. I'm going to take down this giant lizard with a couple little pellets.
So, Reed Richards snatches the gun away from the cop, and he says, hey, what are you doing? You a dummy? You can't hurt him. And so he yells at the cop. And to get Godzilla's attention again, the helicarrier shoots him with some rockets.
Yeah.
And that makes Godzilla mad. And so then Reed Richards says, hey, you Human Torch fella, you go get the Avengers. I'm going to go back and get Thing and Sue. And
yeah. I should have got Sue from the get-go. She could have just, like, put him in an invisible force field and carried him over there.
A big old bubble. And, but then there's just ongoing panic of people running away from Godzilla, and he's crushing his car. That would stink, man, if Godzilla crushes your car.
I know. There's no way insurance covers that.
Yeah. Like, you're screwed.
You didn't buy giant lizard insurance.
But then we see Robert Takaguchi. He's like a 12 years old, I believe they say, is how old he's supposed to be here. And he looks out the window of the helicarrier and he sees Godzilla and he is excited. He's like, yeah, Godzilla's back.
And he's back to his full size. He starts crying. He's so happy that this giant lizard is murdering most of New York City right now.
Gotta find Mr. Dugan before he thinks Godzilla is trying to hurt anyone. Oh,
he is. Yeah, he's
ruining people's lives right now. Every second.
He's all roid raged out.
I like this scene here at the Daily Bugle.
Yeah.
Jonah is yelling at Robbie Robertson, saying, where's
this is a newspaper. Why don't we know what's going on? Somebody get the story on my desk right now. And Robbie's just like lighting his pipe, and then he's like, I haven't had a chance to. Oh no! And he drops the pipe.
Because behind Jonah Jameson is Godzilla's big face.
Yeah.
It's like, turn around.
Blasphemy, blast it. What in blazes is wrong with you, Robertson? Your pipe's burning my carpet. And then Jonah finally looks back. With there's a panel of him doing some weird torso twist where he's still looking at Robbie instead of looking outside the window.
But my favorite is the dialogue. Read that dialogue.
Well, speak up, man. Is it the window? What did you see out there?
Is it the window? He turns
what
around.
Did you see out the window? Why'd you freaking look?
So he turns around and sees Godzilla, and J. Jonah is very upset. So he opens his window and just sticks his fist, shaking his fist at Godzilla. Where's that blasted Peter Parker?
Never around when we need him. And they say Godzilla, returns the hot wind coming from Jonah in kind, and just uses his super hot breath. He doesn't use the atomic, flame breath, but just shoots out some very, very hot, steamy breath right in Jonah's face, sending him flying across the room.
Yeah, blows him across the office there. But J. Jonah Jameson is very upset,
Yeah.
And you got to find that Peter Parker immediately, because he's the only person in all of New York City with a camera. Let's get Peter Parker immediately.
Yeah.
Now my other, all right,
he's like, I could take a picture of him myself. Well, why didn't you? Instead of shaking your fist.
All right, so that's my favorite part of the issue with J. Jonah Jameson. My second favorite part is now we cut to Avengers Mansion.
Yeah.
And the Avengers are all sitting around. We got Iron Man, Vision, Scarlet Witch, Yellow Jacket, and this is Hank Pym, Yellow Jacket.
And they're all in costumes. They're all just sitting around fully costumed.
And Thor, Captain America.
Monopoly.
Yes, they're playing Monopoly. They're playing Monopoly.
It's a good thing Cousin Pete wasn't here this week, or he would never read another Marvel comic book, because he hates Monopoly. Loves games.
Yeah.
Hates Monopoly.
Jank's Cousin Pete makes his own board game. But let me ask you this, Jank. In all of your history out here on this planet, and with your cousin Pete and all, have you ever actually finished a game of Monopoly? Because when I was a kid, I started many games of Monopoly. I don't think I ever finished one. Like,
I don't think so. No. Because everyone just starts mortgaging stuff, and it's just like, this is never going to end. Like,
yeah, you just play until people get bored, and then you stop.
It's been 4 hours. Let's all just go to bed.
It always seems like a fun idea when you start it, and then like whoever gets boardwalk, you're like, all right, I guess you won. I don't know, we're done.
We'll just call it a quits right there.
Not the Avengers. They sit around in costume and play Monopoly.
You think maybe they'd play something like Risk or something that involves battle strategies.
So Human Torch just flies right into their mansion. Nice security you got there, Avengers. Good job. And he's like, hey, we need your help. Godzilla's on the loose.
Yeah. Now, we talked last week about how the Avengers at that time, not the greatest of lineups, but this one's pretty damn solid at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a
lot of the
yellow.
recognizable.
Yeah, a kind of Yellow Jacket. Pim Yellow Jacket. But other than that, this is the Avengers that I think of, Right. But I like Captain America here. He hears that Godzilla's on the loose, and he says, but someone must stay here at the monitors in case there's any trouble beyond Manhattan. And then Thor says, hey, Captain America, thou and the Scarlet Witch wilt remain. The rest of us
two of you to watch this monitor.
That sounds to me, it sounds like a little scam there. Captain America and Scarlet Witch got a little something going on the side, and they don't want anyone else to know. Hey, we got to stay here and watch the monitors. Right? You guys take care of that giant lizard. Stay here.
They specifically made sure they can't fly just so they could always have this alone time together.
And I hate the way Thor talks in this book. Verily we shall and all that stuff.
I'm so glad they dropped that eventually because it was just annoying. That's why I never cared for Thor when I was a kid.
Yeah, same here. A little bit of that goes a long way. Just drop in a thee or a thou every once in a while, but man.
Pretty bad.
All right, so
which you probably want to bring with you. Like she's one of the most powerful.
Yeah, she's like the most powerful person there.
Yeah.
Let's leave you here. But I think at this point in time, that was she viewed as that super powerful?
Yeah, at this point, I don't know. I never understood her powers at this point. Like I was like, what does the hex bolt do?
It basically just like things, bad accidents happened or something. I think that's what I was going with. Because you remember,
kind of like Long Shot or Domino with the luck powers, but like more like centered on certain objects or whatever. But it was weird.
Because you weren't here, I don't think, when Mike L. and I did an Avengers. That was written by Jim Shooter. And his portrayal of Scarlet Witch was just terrible, because he always struggled with rating women. But he made her seem like a complete idiot, So, I don't think at this point in her time she was viewed as being so awesome. But anyway, we cut back to Godzilla, and they're still shooting with the rockets, trying to get him down the street. Because they want to get him to the river. Because they figure if they can get him to the river, then they can get him out into the ocean. And then maybe he'll leave him alone, So that's the goal here.
Go back where he came from originally.
Yeah, go murder Japanese people. Don't bother us. So
he'll be out in the middle of the Atlantic now instead of the Pacific, but whatever. Maybe he'll go crush Britain. That's fine.
So he's Robert Takaguchi runs into Dum Dum Dugan. He's like, hey, that's no way to calm him down, not by attacking him. You only make it worse. Get that kid out of here. And I mean now. I ain't got time to argue. Can't you see my mustache and cigar? Everyone smokes in this issue too.
Yeah, I miss it.
They either have a pipe or a cigar.
Even the floor is smoking now because Robbie dropped that pipe.
That's right. So they tell Robert Takaguchi to get out of there, but then they see, here come the Fantastic Four and their Fantastic Car and the Human Torch, and now all the Avengers are flying in. And Dum Dum Dugan is not happy about this. Oh no, the only thing worse than a kid is a whole flock of freako costume clowns. Why me?
Yeah, he just wants to, bare knuckle box Godzilla again. Apparently.
So Godzilla hits the helicarrier with some of his fire breath. It looks like, man, look at that.
Yeah.
And
The shoebox is steady. It's holding on.
so the Avengers finally charge him. Thor seems to be the leader here for the Avengers, which is odd.
Yeah, given the Avengers assemble, that's weird. Seems more like an Iron Man, but
So what you want to do when you attack Godzilla is fly directly into his mouth. Because he
smart.
he has such a wide assortment of weapons. They go right into his mouth. So he just hits them with the radioactive atomic fire and murders them.
So clearly the Avengers are all dead. Yeah.
But the Human Torch says, "Hey, that doesn't bother me. I'm, Mr. Fire." So he just goes and punches him right in the eye. Socks him in the eye. And the dialogue here is great. But this is one hot shot. He's definitely in his element. So you'll just have to find another way to knock the Human Torch out of and Godzilla just bitch slaps him the back of his hand. And it knocks his flame out.
Touche.
Yeah, touche. A giant lizard just smacked me in the mouth. Oh, touche.
Guess I'm gonna die now. Bye.
I also don't like Godzilla's fingertips, like his claws. I don't know what's going on here.
They're very dainty. I don't know.
They're just
very strange.
His fingers are just points. They don't have nails or anything. They're just points. All right, so then Thor hits him.
He's a god, so the fire didn't stop him none. So he's like, now let us see yon monster spare against the power of mystic Mjolnir, the thunder god's Uru hammer, and flies right into his nostril area, not up his nostril, right below
his snout region.
Yeah.
And then he says, "Verily, the dragon is savage beyond compare." All right, so the Avengers are having trouble. So I got a little worried here first because Yellow Jacket and Wasp, they're coming up with an idea how they can fight Godzilla. These two miniature insect heroes can fight Godzilla. And Wasp says, "I just had an idea. Godzilla is already on the docks, close enough to topple into the water. If we were to fly into his ... And then Yellow Jacket says, "I get it. And it's the best idea I've heard all day. Let's go." I thought they were going to fly up his butt.
Yep. What everyone wanted Ant-Man to do to Thanos in that game. Yep.
So, I was a little concerned. But no, they fly into his ear hole. Right into his ear hole.
Now, the only problem with this is, this is a good strategy that would probably work on most villains, but, he's Godzilla. Any of the Avengers could have done this. You don't have to be as small as Ant-Man or the Wasp to get into his ear. His ear is probably 2 stories tall.
That's a very good point. Yeah. Any Thor could have done this.
Yeah. And then, electrocuted his brain,
Also, Godzilla has that tail to stabilize him, So even if he gets wobbly, he still might be able to stay. But yeah, the idea is to fly into his ear canal there, buzz their little wings around to make him to throw off his equilibrium, and then have him fall backwards into the river. And sure enough, that's exactly what happens.
Yep. They get him all drunk and he just falls over.
So thankfully, the whole point of this issue is just get him in the river. They finally do it. Topples in the river. All right, so we're all good now. But then, rawr, Godzilla rises up out of the river like a true monster. And
yep. Turns out just getting him into the water doesn't necessarily mean he's going away. He's still in the area where he can stand up perfectly fine. So this hasn't done much of anything yet.
The final irony, just beyond the very same docks where Godzilla first entered New York as a tiny specimen, he now rises in his full majesty, dwarfing everything in sight and bursting with the power of total destruction. And then next issue, Battleground Manhattan, next issue. So I did have to flip ahead, Jank, and I don't know if you did as well. But so the whole point of this issue was to get him in the river. Next issue, he's right back in the city, just tearing up buildings and everything. It just...
Oh, man, Yellow Jacket and the Wasp, you had your chance to be heroes, and it was all snatched away from you.
There's no point to any of this, because they're right back where they started.
Yeah. And it seems like the Avengers just kind of fight him, but nothing really does anything until, the kid It's like, hey, Godzilla, how about you don't do this? And he's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, all right, buddy. Yeah, he picks up the little kid in his claws and he's looking at him, and he puts him back down, and then he just drifts off into the ocean.
Yeah.
That's where it ends.
Still remains there. Did Godzilla ever come back in the Marvel universe?
Godzilla has appeared in other comics since then. A few times. Oh shoot, I should have. I was hoping you knew more about this because you're more recent comic guy.
Seeing him in the more recent comics.
Yeah, there was some storyline I think with the Avengers in recent years, where when I say recent years, in the last 20 years, where someone brought back all these monsters, and Godzilla was one of them, and the Avengers had to fight him as that. And but he's popped up maybe 2 or 3 other times over the years in different books. But
okay, that's cool. I'm glad he still exists somewhere in the Marvel universe, even if they're not using him too often.
Well, for a while they lost the license, so he couldn't. Like I guess they he went. Dark Horse had the license for a bit, I think. We talked about Dark Horse.
Sure. Yeah.
But I guess at some point because it's weird, if you have the license, you think you'd be making regular books with them, but I don't know. Maybe things are.
Maybe they didn't have the license. They just kind of borrowed it for a little bit. Like, we'll give you a little
I have no idea. But he has popped up elsewhere. So there it is, our first experience with Godzilla, the comic book. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I've never read it.
I mean, this is probably the more kind of Godzilla story I would be interested in, is him interacting with the greater Marvel universe, more so than just, here he is on his own.
You definitely need someone. He needs a sidekick or someone to pal around with. But there's only so much you can do with a giant monster lizard. That's why you have to shrink them down and stuff, because otherwise, it's just very little you can do.
Yeah. And just him being anywhere causes such destruction that it's just like, wow. Yeah. Even if you win, you've lost.
Yeah, the writing here by Moench, I mean, it was, again, the whole issue's pointless because it just undoes everything next issue, so.
Yeah.
The Avengers playing Monopoly was great. Jonah Jameson was funny, so that was pretty cool.
Those were the standout scenes for sure.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's just him kind of following a giant shoebox in the sky. So.
Yeah. Herb Trimpe. For those who don't know Doug Moench, of course, he did a lot of Batman, right?
Oh, yeah. A bunch of Batman.
We talked about him on the show many times. We've
not even that long ago, I think. Yeah. Yeah. He definitely came up recently.
Did he do that Brave and the Bold, or who did that? With Batman at Christmas? Was that him?
He might have. Yeah.
I don't know.
Possible.
Herb Trimpe, he's been on the show a few times. The first time, I believe, was a G.I. Joe issue we did. Hey, Miles Watson was there for that one, too, back in the day.
Yeah.
And I always thought, when I was a kid, I thought his name was Herb Trimpe. But then Mike Gale told me, no, it's Herb Trimpe, rhymes with shrimpy. So,
yep.
I always say that now whenever I see his name.
Only someone did that with Dum Dum Dugan for us.
Yeah. But Trimpe was he's good with storytelling, but he's perfectly fine, but just boring, I would say, right? His stuff's just boring.
Yeah. It's kind of like a discount Jack Kirby, I guess. It's kind of Kirby-esque in certain parts where it's like, oh, it's kind of square and, I don't know, Kirby-esque, but
there's nothing dynamic, no energy to his panels at all. It's just kind of there. Just it's fine, but it's nothing. Like when I was a kid and I saw a Herb Trimpe issue, I was not excited.
No. I can't remember ever being excited to see Herb Trimpe.
No. So I didn't want to do shows.
Showed up tomorrow, like at my work, I'd probably be excited.
Yeah, I'd be excited. Yeah. Hey, it's Herb Trimpe. You're on to Trimpe. But there you go. Otherwise, the way he draws Godzilla, not good. And when you're doing a book called Godzilla and the star is Godzilla, you really want to nail Godzilla and how you draw.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's a problem.
That's a problem. Yeah.
I guess, there are a lot of similarities between the Hulk and Godzilla. The radiation changing them into these monsters and whatnot. And they wanted to...
It's kind of the Rick Jones of this comic book.
And I guess Moench wanted to have Hulk in the Godzilla series here, but Herb Trimpe had been drawing the Incredible Hulk, and he said he was so sick of drawing Hulk, he didn't want to put him in the series. So that's why.
Put him in issue 4 or 5, the ones he missed.
Yeah, so that's why there's no Hulk at all. But so I don't know. What do you think, Jank? Godzilla, 1 out of 10.
I'll give it like a 6. It's decent enough. It went by really quickly. It was a smooth, easy read. Couple good scenes. The rest kind of meh, but it was fun enough. I wasn't expecting a whole lot, and it delivered on those expectations, I would say.
Yeah, it's like a 5 or 6, but we'll go 6 for the Monopoly and the J. Jonah Jameson. We'll give a bump up there. Yeah. But yeah, it's just middle of the road, what it is.
Yeah,
but,
nothing spectacular. Not going to be one of my favorite comics ever, but that Jameson scene really was pretty fun. That's pretty much why I picked this one. I was like, oh, Godzilla meets J. Jonah Jameson? This I need to see.
There you go, Godzilla. All right, next week here on the big show, this kind of ties into this, but we're going to go Daredevil issue 123 from 1975. This will be the third issue of Daredevil we've done on the show in the 4.5 years. The first one was from the early 80s. The second one we did was from like the late 80s, and this is from the 70s. So we'll get a nice little mix there. And S.H.I.E.L.D. is also in this.
Definitely before I started reading Daredevil, for sure. I've not read this one.
This, Tony Isabella is the writer here, and a fellow named William Robert Brown is the artist. I have no idea who that is.
Boy. Well, I guess you'll have to dust out your researching for this one.
So,
somebody we haven't done before.
Yeah.
Number 123, you said?
123 from 1975. And S.H.I.E.L.D. is in this issue, and they fight a bunch of crazy villains in Hydra. So it seems like a fun issue. So we'll do this.
Both the porcupines there.
No, there's a guy named El Jaguar, I believe, and another guy named Jackhammer, and some tough lady. I don't know her name's. Silvermane is in this.
Oh, Silvermane, the old gangster guy.
Yep. He's apparently Master Hydra or whatever in this.
Oh, look at that. Must have got demoted later.
and Black Widow is also in it with Daredevil at this point in time. Although this issue is still just called Daredevil, because for a while there was called Daredevil and Black Widow. Yeah,
that's right. Wasn't that earlier on? Maybe like around issue 100 or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was earlier than
San
this.
Francisco? Yeah.
But she is still here, even though she's not on the. We'll get into that next week. But the reason I wanted to go Daredevil didn't Daredevil pop up on TV again recently, or aren't they hyping him up? Echo? Did Echo come out?
That Echo show dropped this week, I think.
Well, Daredevil's in that, so.
Oh, okay.
I think he popped up in an episode of Echo, so people were talking Daredevil. So.
Who knows if he'll ever actually get on TV again? They just scrapped an entire series after they filmed like 7 or 8 episodes, I think.
Yeah, we'll look into it for next week, because I love the Daredevil. He's my favorite guy. So
yeah, he's pretty great. I do love me some Daredevil.
All right,
early kind of pre-Frank Miller Daredevil. I don't know about.
Yeah, it's not the best. It's not the best.
Yeah, pretty lackluster, but
we'll talk all about that next week. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We appreciate the support. Big news, Jank. Flea Market Fantasy T-shirts are just around the corner. So, yeah. Get ready.
I'm hyped.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
I'm going to order them all. I'm going to get an extra small in pink for Cousin Brandon.
We got to get Cousin Brandon back on the show. Every time I reach out to him, he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And then, he passes out drunk and he doesn't remember. and he never talks to me again. But we'll hopefully make that happen. All right, so Daredevil next week. And until then, don't get any jank on you.